Greetings, Ascending Starseed. I am Kaya Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Five Sisters, and today I bring a realignment transmission. Your frequencies of abundance are awakening, and the universe asks that you listen with an open heart. What is arriving to you is sacred, and it requires inner silence. If you enjoy videos like this, consider subscribing. Most people who watch are not subscribed yet. Starseed, you have noticed something shifting inside you, not as an idea, but as a gentle pressure in the chest, as a call that does not shout, yet it persists. You may even be fine on the outside, but internally there is a sense that your field can no longer breathe in the same rhythm. And suddenly the unthinkable begins to feel simple, to step out of density, to seek sky, soil, silence, and horizon. Not because you are abandoning the world, but because your body is refusing to remain compressed by frequencies that no longer match who you are becoming. And here is what almost no one says clearly. This exodus is not only social and not only economic. There is a vibrational pull occurring now, as if Gaia and the living grids of this planet are activating signals of orientation. And many of you, especially the sensitive ones, receive it first as fatigue, as irritability, as insomnia, as that strange feeling of something is off, you cannot name. But we, the Pleiadian, say, this is refinement. It is your nervous system returning to its original instrument of truth. And when this begins, you do not return to sleeping inside distortion. What I'm about to reveal explains why 2026 is not merely a number. It is a curve of acceleration you already feel approaching. There is a signal that rises within before it becomes a spoken decision. It begins quietly, like guidance without language, an unease that is not ordinary anxiety, a desire to open the window and realize the air does not truly enter, a homesickness for something you have not yet lived. We call this frequency memory. Home, from a Pleiadian perspective, is not an address. It is a coherent field where your heart can sustain expansion without needing to defend itself. And as you awaken into a wider reality, your body becomes the first radar. You do not choose to feel. It is felt, and then the mind tries to explain. Many label this as burnout, a life shift, a need for space. Yes, those layers exist, yet beneath them lives an energetic truth. Your field is learning to distinguish between environments that amplify noise and environments that amplify presence. Cities can offer opportunity and connection, yet they also accumulate layers of collective emotional imprint. And when your heart opens, you can no longer remain numb through habit. You begin to sense that certain places are like tight garments. You can wear them, but you pay with tension in the body. As the Pleiadian transmit, the signal does not arrive as urgency, but as recognition. First, it is a recurring dream of land, water, and sky. Then it becomes a search out of curiosity that turns into a pattern. You study maps, terrain, villages, forest edges. Then you imagine your day with a different clock, waking with real light, walking with horizon, sleeping with true darkness. And when you finally say out loud, I will go, it sounds simple, even if you have circled around it for years. And there is something deeper still. When you feel this call, part of you already knows that the new earth is anchored through positioning. You are not only seeking comfort, you are seeking the place where your coherence can become service. The question is not, where is the world going? The question is, where does your field breathe best so you can sustain the frequency you came to bring? And when you begin to recognize this, another layer reveals itself because it is not only psychological, it is biological. When consciousness expands, the body does not remain the same. It reorganizes. Your internal cycles begin to seek coherence, sleep, appetite, focus, energy, mood. Many do not understand why, because they try to treat it as productivity or routine. But there is a living engineering within you, a system of rhythms that responds to light, magnetism, sound, emotional density, and silence. And when you live under dominant artificial light, constant noise, and intense electromagnetic overlay, your body learns to survive in a mode that is not its natural design. For a while, it works. Then awakening begins to require a different kind of support. As the Pleiadian transmit, the refinement of the body is like sacred geometry opening, patterns of coherence reorganizing. This is not merely a poetic metaphor. Your nervous system is an instrument reading the environment. Your pineal intelligence, your endocrine axis, your circadian cycles, these respond to the real pulse of Earth: dawn, dusk, darkness, quiet, wind, moisture, soil. When you step away from those markers, you replace the living pulse with an artificial pulse. For a time, you can manage it. Then the body asks for truth. This is why many sensitives begin to notice signals: fragmented sleep, irritability without clear cause, inflammation, the sensation of being wired at night and drained in the morning, exhaustion that does not resolve with ordinary rest. And at the same time, you crave simple things: bare feet on soil, the open sky, slow cooking, the smell of rain. This is not nostalgia. It is frequency orientation. Your body is guiding you back to the environment where it does not need to compensate continually. When you step onto living land and your eyes meet the horizon, something happens. The breath deepens. The nervous system softens. The mind loses its compulsive need to track every input. You feel relief. And that relief is information. Your field saying, "Here I can integrate." Gaia offers a silent kind of support. She does not demand that you force healing. She creates conditions where healing becomes a consequence. And once you recognize this, the question changes. Instead of, "How do I fix my life?" it becomes, "Where do I live so my life can reorganize naturally?" And then another element emerges. It is not only your biology seeking rest. There is a planetary intelligence drawing its stewards toward specific positions. This is not theory, it is grid dynamics. Gaia carries living lattices, flows, intersections, interactions between underground water, magnetism, and mineral memory. And as the new Earth begins to brighten, these networks become more audible to the human heart, especially to the sensitive. You feel a place calling you without knowing why. You enter a region, and the chest relaxes. You stand on a piece of ground, and your body says yes before any spreadsheet does. As the Pleiadian transmit, there are pre-agreements, often not dramatic, but felt as a deep inner leaning. Certain souls are drawn to certain biomes, certain waters, certain mountain edges, certain areas with quiet nights and lower interference. And why? Because the new Earth is not born from elevated ideas alone. It is born from coherence, sustained in the body, repeated in daily life: cooking, planting, walking, resting, speaking, teaching, building. It looks small, yet this is exactly how a grid stabilizes, through consistent embodied presence. Observe how a city amplifies everything. Anxiety becomes collective haste. Stress becomes noise. Comparison becomes tightness in the chest. Density creates resonance. Open land, by contrast, creates space for your field to unfurl and return to its natural shape. And when you return to your natural shape, you stop leaking energy. You stop being drained. And what used to be the capacity to endure becomes the capacity to transmit. Transmission does not require spectacle. It requires stability. A coherent node emits like a lighthouse, and multiple coherent nodes, distributed, create a lattice, a mesh of coherence that supports the collective, even those who remain within dense environments. This is why you sense it is not only about comfort. You feel a silent mission. I need to be where I can sustain love without collapsing. This is service, yet many still carry the old belief that spiritual service equals exhaustion, carrying the world on your shoulders. We say no. True service is alignment that does not break. And for many, the urban environment has become a constant test of resilience. The new Earth requests a different strategy: coherent ease that is repeatable, daily, sustainable. This is why the land calls. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. And now, as you understand the grids, you also understand this. The home matters, not only by aesthetics, but by vibrational function. A dwelling is not only walls, it is a field. Some fields heal you, and others fracture you without you noticing, because the nervous system is always responding to space, materials, light, and sound. If this message ignited something within you and you feel the call to help carry it to others, you may become a channel member. As a member, you gain access to custom emojis and exclusive members-only videos, and your donation helps us continue building this sacred space. You may also choose to leave your offering as a super thanks. Every seed planted here becomes part of someone else's miracle. Your support is not merely financial, but an act of energetic amplification. All donations are devoted entirely to the maintenance of the channel and the creation of new transmissions and videos. Let us speak clearly and gently. Cities are amplifiers. They amplify creativity, opportunity, and connection. And they also amplify tension, emotional imprint, and mental acceleration. For the awakening sensitive, this becomes more obvious because sensitivity increases. What you once tolerated begins to weigh on you, not because you became weaker, but because you became precise. Precision brings discernment. Discernment brings movement. The urban frequency soup is a sum, continuous sound, artificial light that breaks the night, overlapping electrical infrastructure, the absence of true silence, and the accumulated emotional field within shared spaces. This is not moral. This is not about blame. It is information. Your body reads it as static. You feel it as restlessness, irritability, scattered focus, anxiety without obvious reason, or emotional flattening where nothing truly reaches you. As the Pleiadian transmit, when the new Earth approaches, contrast increases. Dense environments become resonance chambers. What is stored within them amplifies. This is why many sense that cities have become heavier in recent cycles. And in parallel, quiet places feel more nourishing. You sleep deeper. You breathe more fully. You think more clearly. You do not need to protect your field every moment. This is not about demonizing cities. Some souls still have learning, work, and positioning there. But for many sensitives, this phase calls for another arena. An arena where the body can keep the heart open without collapsing. Open land offers horizon, and horizon reorganizes the nervous system. It exits the mode of near threat and enters the mode of wide field. This changes everything. Patience, creativity, empathy, presence. In smaller communities, trust can be built. Coherence multiplies when people know one another and share intention. The new Earth is not isolation. It is true proximity, not forced physical proximity. It is the conscious choice of scale. And when you find your scale, your energy returns. When energy returns, creation returns. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. If you think this is only lifestyle, observe what happens when you shift your rhythm for a single week. Real dawn, real dusk, real darkness. Something inside you aligns without force, and you understand it is not only psychological, it is physical, vibrational, and temporal. This is why the period approaching 2026 intensifies decisions, not through fear, but through clarity. There is an unconscious fear that keeps many tied to cities. If I go to the land, it will be hard. We understand this because the collective memory associates rural life with strain, isolation, and lack. Yet the new Earth does not replicate the past. It reorganizes the future. From the Pleiadian perspective, the return to land is linked to intelligent ease, supportive technologies that serve biology, decentralized infrastructure, autonomous systems, and small coherent communities connected through networks. As the Pleiadian transmit, As collective consciousness rises, solutions that once seemed distant become accessible through higher agreements and restored pathways. Without turning this into fantasy, you can feel the direction: decentralized energy, efficient water capture and purification, assisted agriculture, building materials with high thermal intelligence, and community-based logistics. The essential point is simple: reduce the time spent in survival loops and increase the time spent in presence. When basic needs are met intelligently, humans return to what expands them: creation, learning, healing, relationship, art, contemplation, stewardship. Stewardship is the heart of it. Your relationship with Gaia shifts from extraction to partnership. You plant and notice the plant responds to your state. You touch water and feel it change when you change. You learn cycles. You stop fighting life and begin cooperating with it. This is not romanticizing. It is the return of sensitivity, and sensitivity is organic technology. In coherent communities, learning becomes experiential. Children see food being born from soil. People share skills. Support replaces some of the stress of large systems. You do not need crowds to belong. You need alignment. The new Earth emerges like this: small nodes, repeated, connected, forming a larger lattice. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. And then fear shifts. Instead of, what if I cannot handle the land, it becomes, what if I stay here and my body cannot handle this frequency any longer? Because the cost of remaining in incoherence becomes visible. What drains you is not the work of land, it is the constant static that prevents real rest. What exhausts you is not planting, it is living while defending your field 24 hours a day. And when that clarity arrives, you realize the change is not a blind leap, it is guided action. You simplify, you test, you learn, you reposition, and step by step, you build a container where your frequency does not fracture. This is essential as the curve accelerates. There are windows in time when multiple streams converge at once: economic reorganization, pressure for disclosure, collective biological awakening, increased sensitivity, and shifts within planetary grids. When these streams converge, choice becomes clearer. Not because you are forced, but because contrast intensifies. What expands you expands more. What contracts you contracts more. And the mind loses its power to postpone, while the body becomes the decision maker. As the Pleiadian transmit, the approach of 2026 functions like a curve where inner signals become insistent. You feel with greater precision. Certain places drain you, certain rhythms fracture you, certain environments compress you. And at the same time, you receive clear indicators of alignment, a place that calls, an idea that repeats, a felt sense of now that is not haste but coherence. Many describe this as inner friction when they delay. We say, this is not punishment. It is instrumentation. Your body is remembering how to be compass. And within this window is what we call a forging of heart resonance. When many hearts sustain stable love at the same time, a collective force anchors into Gaia's grids. This requires no complex ritual. It requires simple practice, conscious breath, presence in the chest, and a stabilizing inner phrase that organizes the field. You may use I am not as belief, but as an internal tone that aligns attention with body. You do not need to fight the world to serve the world. You need to sustain a field that does not collapse. This is why repositioning matters. Where you live determines how you sleep, how you breathe, how you respond to stress. That determines how much coherence you can sustain. Soil, silence, true darkness, and true dawn are allies of the heart. They make alignment less effort and more state, and this is essential when the curve accelerates. Many of you will feel time moving faster. Others will feel old decisions returning as waves. We offer a simple reading. If it returns repeatedly, your field is ready to resolve it. And to resolve it is not to think better. It is to move toward coherence, one step at a time. The ebook, The Pleiadian Map of Personal Transmutation, a profound guide that reveals how to raise your frequency, purify old patterns, and activate your true multidimensional identity. This map teaches you how to move through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation, using practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and consciousness expansion rituals that accelerate your spiritual evolution. Attention, limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. We arrive now at the integration point. This movement is a redistribution of light. And light is not an abstract idea. It is living coherence sustained in the human body. When sensitive beings reposition to environments where they can breathe, sleep, and stabilize the heart, they become stronger nodes, and this supports the collective, including those who remain in dense places. You do not abandon anyone by seeking coherence. You prepare to serve without breaking. As the Pleiadian transmit, we witness many of you forming small, coherent communities, not closed tribes, but living networks where life returns to human scale. Food, knowledge, tools, and presence are shared. Local systems are born: gardens, water, learning through experience, emotional support, art. Quietly, this becomes early New Earth architecture, not because it is declared, but because coherent life naturally creates coherent structure. And here is the beauty. You do not need to wait for an external event to live the new earth. You live it now through how you shape your day. Environment shapes rhythm. Rhythm shapes the nervous system. The nervous system shapes perception. Perception shapes choice. Choice shapes reality. When you understand this chain, you stop arguing theory and begin adjusting the basics: light, sleep, food, silence, movement, relationships, land. This is applied spirituality, frequency in the everyday. Some will remain in urban centers for a time. We do not condemn them. There are cycles and functions. But for you who feel the call, a practical, sacred question arises. Where is your presence most stable? Stable presence is stable transmission. Stable transmission is real service. When you honor the call, synchrony appears. Meetings, openings, land opportunities, doors that unlock. You realize you are not inventing the change. You are responding to an inner map. Gaia draws her stewards near, and stewards do not need to be perfect. They need to be present. And as outer noise intensifies, you do not panic. You breathe, you touch the soil, you look at the sky. You remember, you position yourself by the heart. This is not escape, this is mastery, because the new earth is not born through debate. It is born through coherence repeated day after day. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light.